Right, okay, we should be going. We're up and running here. I've just got a beep. So, good morning, all. Anybody see what was going on yesterday in Commons? Is anyone disappointed with the result? Seems a bit suspicious, doesn't it? But there you go. I hope everyone's well. Don't forget, please share this out, yeah, if you can, on your social medias, etc. Blah, 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 blah. I won't go on about it. We're just waiting for them to start as usual. We should have them up and running any minute now, I hope. Well, they're usually late, aren't they? And we'll see what's going to happen now. Please, everybody, keep calm. Keep an eye on your blood pressure, yeah? I'm dosed up with coffee and nicotine at the moment, so we're good to go. Yeah, out of the frying pan into the fire. Right, let me just get this. Still waiting for them. I'm just going to refresh and see if I can get it. Okay, we've got a window. Okay, right. Sure. Morning, CPN. Hope you're well. Okay. You know what to do, everyone. I'm not going to keep going on about it. Well, somebody's heart rate is very low at the moment. The dog's laying down, going to sleep. Yeah, we're all good this end, mate. All good here. All good. Fucking hell. Yeah. Come on, what are they playing at? Okay. Just waiting for them to start and we get going. Obviously, they're late. I'm only going to say this once. Don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed and share this out for me. That's the last time I'm going to say it. All right. Okay, let's go over and see what's happening. We're just waiting for them to start, guys. Thank you very much, everyone. And we're going to see what surprises we get today.
Can I just say, for the train bearer who's 40 today, I just want to wish him well. Gary Barlow here, in the future. Right, order. We come to questions. Secretary of State for Women and Equalities, Richard Quigley.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No one, regardless of where they live, should ever experience such heinous crimes, and the Government is absolutely committed to supporting all victims and survivors. My department, through the Hampshire Police and Crime Commissioner, provides the honourable member's local area with core grant funding to support victims of all crime types, including sexual assault, and in addition, we provide ring-fenced funding for domestic and sexual abuse services.
Richard Quigley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for her answer. On the Isle of Wight, the absence of a sexual assault referral centre means that survivors of rape and sexual assault are often required to make a long ferry journey to Portsmouth or Southampton, sometimes in the very clothes they were assaulted in, in order to access the specialist support they need. Will the Minister meet with me to discuss how we can finally address and overcome this injustice faced by women and girls on the Isle of Wight?
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend, who is a tireless champion for tackling the issue of violence against women and girls, and ensuring that victims receive the right and timely support is central to this Government's strategy to tackle these heinous crimes. Of course, I would be delighted to meet with my honourable friend to discuss this, and will ensure we have a joined-up approach from the Department for Health and Social Care to better understand the experiences of women and girls on the Isle of Wight who need help.
Secretary of State, Mims Davis.
Sexual assault survivors from the Isle of Wight and all across the United Kingdom, as the Minister says, must be heard. Virginia Dufresne took her life just 1 year ago. She'd shared her abuse by convicted paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein, the friend of Peter Mandelson. On the 16th of April, Lisa Phillips, another courageous survivor, supported by Carly and Sam from the Sexual Predator Accountability Institute, came to Parliament seeking transparency from lawmakers. Mr. Speaker, the clear question for this Government is, when will it go from platitudes to victims, to tackling trafficking and cover-ups, and delivering adequate support and justice for all women and girls?
Minister.
Well, I welcome the question from the Shadow Secretary of State, and she will know that it is this Government that is putting victims back at the heart of our criminal justice system by investing the biggest ever settlement, over £500 million, into victim support services for the next 3 years. I have had the privilege of meeting with the victims that she mentions at the dispatch box, and of course they remain at the forefront of my minds and this Government's minds, which is why we are working with them and the National Police Chiefs Council to ensure a joined-up approach to take their concerns seriously without prejudicing any prejudice issues that may come about.
Alison.
Question number 2, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are committed to supporting autistic people into work. Our supported employment programme, Connect to Work, will be open throughout England and Wales by the summer and has in its supported employment quality framework a specialist pathway for neurodivergent people and those with a learning disability.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his answer. I recently chaired an Autism APPG employment roundtable where individuals with lived experience highlighted that a significant barrier to employment is a fear factor amongst some employers. This stems from a concern about getting it wrong when recruiting or supporting autistic employees, which can result in employers opting out of recruiting them altogether. Could the Minister outline what steps the Government is taking to address this fear factor and incentivise employers to recruit people with autism?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I commend my honourable friend's important work as chair of the all-party group and thank her for hosting me at the roundtable. But this year we funded ACAS to deliver masterclasses on recruiting neurodivergent people to 1,800 small and medium-sized enterprise representatives, addressing exactly the concerns that she's raised. And my department has also set up the online Support with Employer Health and Disability service, specifically to help employers on these issues. And we will be looking to see what more we can do.
Mr. Speaker, Conservative-run East Sussex County Council has shut down the Class Plus service, which supports people with autism towards independent futures, including into employment. With the elections for the East Sussex County Council just around the corner, does the Minister agree with me that we should be expanding services to support autistic people into work and not shutting them down, as the Conservatives are doing?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm very sorry to hear what's happened in his constituency. I very much agree with him. We've recently received the report of our expert academic panel on neurodiversity in the workplace. That was set up last year, and we're now carefully considering its recommendations and will be acting in the way that he suggests.
I hope not. Jack Abbott.
Question 3, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With permission, I'll be taking questions 3 and 5 together. Mr. Speaker, conversion practices tell people that their identity is wrong, that it can be changed, and that they should be subjected to physical and emotional abuse to change it. These acts are abusive, they are abhorrent, and this government will outlaw them as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Minister mentions, conversion therapy is dangerous, widely discredited and frankly barbaric, and it's about time we got rid of it. Suffolk Pride's Fringe Festival starts next month with Pride Blooms, and I'd ask the Minister to make a powerful statement today and say this terrible practice will end under this Labour government.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my honourable friend is right that conversion practices are dangerous, discredited and abusive, and I can commit to everyone taking part in Suffolk Pride that this Labour government will ban them. I am working on this legislation urgently. I know how important it is for the community, and we will publish our draft legislation as soon as possible.
Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for her comments so far. Conversion practices have devastated the lives of LGBT people for many years, making them feel ashamed of who they are and leaving them with long-term physical and mental harm. This upcoming King's speech marks 8 years since a ban on so-called conversion therapy was first promised. Can the Minister reassure me that a bill will come to this House early in the next session and that we will not be waiting any longer for these cruel and inhumane practices to be outlawed for good?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, can I thank my honourable friend for being such a fantastic champion for the LGBT plus community. This government will deliver our manifesto commitment to a trans-inclusive ban on conversion practices. She is right to say that successive governments have promised to do this. This Labour government will be the one that actually does it.
Rebecca Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd be grateful if the Minister could confirm exactly what conversion practices she specifically plans to ban.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I've been clear in my answers so far this afternoon. But to be very clear, conversion practices tell people that they should be subjected to physical and emotional abuse to change their identity. I think that's unacceptable. This government thinks that's unacceptable, and we will ban it.
Clive Jones.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. One school in my constituency is concerned about a Year 6 pupil with significant support needs. Because of his progress with the school's help, he has been assessed as not needing specialist provision at secondary school. This is felt to be wrong by his teachers. What will she do to ensure children are not punished for the success of their previous schools when transitioning to another school?
I'm not quite sure it's linked to the right question. Right, let's move on. Cat Smith.
Question number 6, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I will answer questions 6 and 10 together today. Our cross-government violence against women and girls strategy, which was published on the 18th of December, sets out our strategic direction and concrete actions to prevent violence and abuse, pursue perpetrators and to support victims, delivering our unprecedented commitment to halve the levels of violence against women and girls within a decade.
Catherine Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Survivors of violence, of male violence, often take a long time to rebuild their lives, and I'm supporting a constituent at the moment whose perpetrator is about to be released from prison, but is receiving no support from Lancaster City Council, who is her housing provider, to relocate to another area so that the perpetrator is not released back into the same community. What advice can she give me and my constituent to support that housing move so that her and her children can feel safe?
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for supporting her constituents so diligently and for raising this with me today in the Chamber. The Government is committed to ensuring that victims of domestic abuse can access the support that they need for safe accommodation to rebuild their lives. Under Part 4 of the Domestic Abuse Act 2021, local authorities in England are required to assess the need for and commission specialist support for victims and their children in safe accommodation. To support this delivery, MHCLG has provided nearly £500 million over the next 3 years to provide domestic abuse victims who are homeless eligible accommodation, and offenders released from prison are subject to licence requirements, conditions, and she should be getting support from her victim liaison officer.
Dave Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There have been a number of deeply disturbing cases of women being targeted and attacked on the basis of their perceived religion, including 2 horrific cases in the Midlands. Can I please ask the Minister what steps are being taken across government to tackle this form of targeted violence against women and girls and ensure that all communities are properly protected?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for raising this fundamentally important point in the Chamber today. I too am horrified at the horrific racially motivated sexual attacks that seem to be ever more increasing at the moment. This Government is committed to tackling all forms of hate crime. Violence and abuse directed at women and girls because of their race is totally unacceptable and heinous. And where attacks are racially motivated, police can pursue them as racially aggravated offences which attract tougher and higher sentences. These offences often include assault, harassment and criminal damage, and I am proudly working with some brilliant organisations such as Southall Black Sisters, Carmen Nirvana and Hibiscus as part of our strategy to halve the levels of violence against women and girls.
Sam Hall.
Mr. Speaker, violence against women and girls is often focused on what women and girls can do to prevent or keep themselves safe. But the Minister will know and have sympathy with the very pernicious attitude now of toxic masculinity and the huge impact that that is having on teenage boys, on young women and girls. Across government, what can the government do, preferably cross-party, to try to better message with those young men and young boys how to deal with young women in school and elsewhere in order to preserve safety and dignity?
Well, I welcome this really important question from the honourable gentleman. He is right to address this, which is why prevention and tackling the issues that are proliferating online, pushing this narrative to our young men and boys, is so harmful. This is part and core of our violence against women and girls strategy. Also, just last week, the Deputy Prime Minister and I hosted a roundtable across government with the Secretary of State for Education present to look at how best we can support our men and boys in a positive way forward, to provide them with opportunities going forward so that they are not being pushed this message that they are to blame, that they are toxic masculinity, and I want to be very clear, Mr. Speaker, does not mean that men are toxic at all. And that is a really important point to make.
Mr. Mike Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Jean Taylor set up the organisation Families Fighting for Justice after her daughter, Chantel Taylor, was violently and savagely murdered. The murderer then desecrated and concealed her body. And Jean Taylor is wanting to make sure that this is a crime in its own right and not just an aggravating factor. Because not only could she not grieve her daughter or bury her daughter, and Chantel's 3 children couldn't either, but in hiding the body, serious evidence also was hidden. The murderer is now out on the streets. Please, will the Minister meet with me and Jean Taylor to discuss a Chantel's law?
Minister.
I thank the right honourable lady for raising this. I had hoped to drop into the event she hosted yesterday in Parliament to meet Jean directly. However, ministerial responsibilities meant I was unable to, but I will commit today to meeting with her and Jean to discuss this. She will know that the Law Commission are looking at specifically desecration of a body, and that work is ongoing, and that we as the government, when they report back, will look at that carefully to see what more we can do. But I do know that this is an issue, and I'll happily meet with her and Jean.
Sarah Owen, Chair of the Select.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following on from our Women and Equality Select Committee work on misogyny in music, we are now looking at women's experience in comedy. In 2018, Chortle found a quarter of female comedians had been sexually assaulted by a fellow comic, and 1 in 13 raped by another performer. Given recent high-profile cases against male comedians, does the Minister think this sorry situation has improved? And what is the government doing to ensure that all self-employed women are protected in the future?
Well, I thank the Chair of the Select Committee for raising this morning, and it is a horrific statistic that she quotes here, but sadly not uncommon across all professions, Mr Speaker, whether that be comedy, music, and anywhere. And this is why our Violence Against Women and Girls strategy is holistic, to look at a whole society approach to tackling the issues that she raises, including changing the culture going forward. I've been pleased to work with the brilliant organisation called No Stage for Abusers, which looks at this specifically, but I'd be happy to work with her and the Select Committee to see what more we can do to support self-employed women specifically to tackle some of the harassment that they face in the workplace.
Mr Speaker, a quarter of female teachers have been subject to misogynistic abuse in the classroom in the last year. They report feeling humiliated and violated by this. And we know that impressionable young boys are targeted on social media with algorithms that just pump misogynistic content to them. So will the Minister push the government to act as swiftly as possible, please, to restrict access to social media for young boys so that we can educate them on how to treat women and girls before the manosphere influencers get to them first?
I thank the Honourable Lady for raising this question, which builds on another question I've previously answered. Look, we need to take a holistic approach to tackling violence against women and girls, which means involving every government department. I'm really pleased that the Secretary of State for the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology was present at the roundtable hosted by the Deputy Prime Minister last week, looking at how best to support men and boys, to look at precisely the issue she raises. This is about us working with the regulator, Ofcom, to look at what more we can do to support the regulator in preventing these algorithms from pushing this content to our men and boys. But this also involves supporting our teachers in their workplace to ensure that they feel safe and can escalate issues as they occur.
Ray Goldman, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you. Mr Speaker, since I last raised the subject of suicides after domestic abuse, the Domestic Abuse Homicide Project has reported on the previous 12 months and seen a significant rise in cases. This morning I held a roundtable with some of the organisations campaigning to ensure that suicides in cases of domestic abuse are investigated from the outset as homicides. They all agreed that action is needed now. One small change that they said would make an important difference was requiring police officers to turn on their body-worn cameras when attending sudden deaths in domestic settings and tagging it afterwards. This way, important evidence will be preserved. So will the government encourage the College of Policing to update its guidance to introduce such a requirement?
I thank the Liberal Democrat spokesperson for her question. I had the privilege of meeting with the Katie Trust last week to discuss this precise issue, and later today I'm meeting with Advocacy After Fatal Domestic Abuse and Dr Anna Hopkins to look at what more we can do here. She will know the Law Commission are reviewing the law of homicide to look at precisely the issue she raises. That work is ongoing and the government will examine the recommendations when they come forward.
Robin Moore.
Number 4, Mr Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. We all know that the current SEND system fails too many families. Our proposals will deliver a reformed SEND system, backed by £4 billion of investment so that every child can achieve and thrive. A 3-tier framework will provide targeted and specialist support, strengthened education, health and care plans, early intervention, access to specialist services and better outcomes for all of our children.
Robin Moore.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Last week I met with Alice Jones, the head teacher at Oxenhope Primary School, to talk about the funding challenges they are facing supporting children with SEND and her deep concerns regarding the planned SEND reforms under this government, including shifting ECHPs to individual support plans, therefore limiting protection for ECHPs to only the most complex cases, which will reduce the necessary financial support for children in mainstream schools. So what reassurance can the Secretary of State give to Mrs Jones and the many other head teachers that have contacted me in my constituency who believe that the government's SEND reforms will not address the current challenges?
Mr Speaker, I do recognise the serious point that the Honourable Gentleman sets out, and that's why we have launched a consultation so that we can hear directly from school leaders, from parents, from young people about what we need to do to make this system work better. And I would encourage school leaders in his constituency to review that and to share their views. But I do want to be clear, Mr Speaker, that this is about improving support, earlier support, making sure that all children are able to access what they need as quickly as possible. The current system is too adversarial, it isn't working, and I've heard from too many parents that have been badly let down by the system that he and his party left behind.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I welcome the government's commitment to making sure that every child in Gloucester with SEND gets the support they need at the earliest stage of their education. I'm welcoming the £4.6 million investment in the Experts at Hand service in Gloucestershire coming for the next academic year. Can the Secretary of State update the House on the discussion she's having with the Department for Health on their workforce plan to make sure that we have the workers needed to deliver that support in Gloucester?
Secretary of State.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend, and he is a true champion for children and young people and families right across his community. He raises an important point, and that's why the SEND consultation that we've brought forward is a joint document that we share with the Department for Health and Social Care, because we know that this is about having a system that better responds to children's education needs when they're in school, but also those wider health needs too. And that's why our Experts at Hand initiative will make sure that there is better targeted specialist support for all children who need it, avoiding the lengthy waits, the arduous process and the adversarial system that too many parents at this minute have to endure.
We've got to go to topicals. Tony Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following the... question number one.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From this month, employers can publish new voluntary action plans to tackle the gender pay gap and support women in the workplace going through the menopause, a vital step forward in improving workplace equality. We are working with employers and encouraging them to take meaningful actions that we know can work. With our Women's Health Strategy, Landmark Employment Rights Act and stronger protections around maternity and for pregnant women and expanded childcare, this government is supporting women to thrive at work.
Tony Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following the Supreme Court's ruling in the 4 Women's Scotland case, I met with several constituents who raised concerns about the EHRC's draft code of practice and guidance, and I thank Folkestone Bookshop for hosting those meetings. But as the government lays the updated guidance, what assurances can she give that businesses and groups can confidently be trans-inclusive and that it will be clear how everyone can be protected from harassment and discrimination?
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, I completely agree that we must make sure that women and trans people feel safe and are protected from harassment. And we will treat everyone with the dignity and respect that they deserve, because those are our values, and that is made clear in the Equality Act. We've also been clear that we expect duty bearers to follow the Supreme Court ruling and to seek legal advice where necessary. And Mr. Speaker, I did recently receive an updated code of practice from the EHRC. I am grateful to them for their work. My intention is to lay that draft code in May as soon as possible after the election period.
Secretary of State Clerk
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nurses have been hounded and harassed by the NHS for simply stating that biological sex is real. The Secretary of State recently met with some of them at my request. I am grateful for that. But that was months ago, so my question is, what has happened since? Has she got an answer from the Nursery and Midwifery Council about how many more nurses are facing these witch hunts? Has she got a date from the Health Secretary for when the NHS will ensure single-sex changing rooms for staff? In short, what can she say to these hard-working nurses whose lives have been ruined by senior people in the NHS?
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, my message to nurses, to anyone working in our NHS, is that they deserve dignity at work. They deserve to be treated with respect, and they should not face abuse, intimidation or harassment. And we have seen some shocking cases, and that is completely unacceptable. The Right Honourable Lady will appreciate that the regulator is independent of government, that it is independent for a reason, and that is the right approach. She will also know, Mr. Speaker, that the code of practice that I intend to lay does not apply to employment, but employers should be following the law.
Clerk Coutinho.
Well, I thank the Secretary of State, but this is the classic problem. She is not on top of her brief. She is absolutely allowed to write to these regulators and ask whether they are breaking the law. So let me try another question. The Muslim Vote campaign is telling people how to vote depending on what God they pray to. This is divisive, sectarian, and it has no place in Britain. Last time I asked the Secretary of State to condemn this, she said she was not aware of what I was describing. But in these local elections, the Muslim Vote has once again endorsed the Green Party and Plaid Cymru. So I will give her another chance. Can she condemn this group and the divisive sectarian role it is playing in British politics?
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, no one should face pressure or undue influence around their voting behaviour. Let me be absolutely clear on this point. But let me also be clear to the House, Mr. Speaker, that I am fed up to the back teeth of opposition politicians coming here time and time again to sow division across our country. I am proud of the tolerant, compassionate and respectful nation that we are, and the Shadow Justice Secretary should have been sacked for his shocking and shameful racist comments against Muslims in our country.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leaked guidance from the Equality and Human Rights Commission suggested that it would be lawful for transgender and gender non-conforming people to be excluded from changing facilities based on a perception that their appearance did not correspond with societal gender norms, irrespective of their actual sex. Can the Secretary of State reassure this House that such an obvious licence for bigotry and discrimination will not be included in the final guidance when she publishes it next month?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for her important question. She will appreciate, I'm sure, that I cannot comment on the draft Code of Practice, but I want to reassure this House that trans people will continue to be protected from discrimination in the Equality Act. We will not treat this issue as a political football, as many others have done in the past. And as I set out in earlier answers, I intend to lay the draft code as soon as possible once we are through the election period.
Rupert Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Women all over Britain, including in my constituency of Great Yarmouth, primarily on King Street, feel intimidated, harassed and abused in their own town centres. Disproportionately, this unacceptable behaviour is committed by young foreign men imported from cultures and religions that treat women like dirt on the bottom of their shoe. Will the Minister today commit to a national audit of street harassment, intimidation and sexual offending by nationality and immigration status so the British people can finally see the scale of the problem?
Secretary of State.
Here we go again, Mr. Speaker. I note that an investigation by a KC into the honourable member's conduct concluded that there was credible evidence that he had mistreated 2 female members in a way that, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, in a way that seemed to amount to harassment. I don't want to hear anything from him about violence against women and girls or harassment.
We now come to Prime Minister's questions. Gurinder Singh Josan.
Number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the state visit by His Majesty the King is a powerful reminder of the deep and special relationship we have with the United States. Mr. Speaker, in this session of Parliament, this Labour government has delivered the biggest upgrade in workers' rights in a generation, the biggest improvement in renters' rights in a generation, and more action than any other government to tackle child poverty. At the King's speech, I look forward to setting out what more we will do to change our country for the better. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Gurinder Singh Josan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I firstly thank you for meeting with me recently to view a 1,000-paper crane folded by residents in Bearwood as a recognition of the diversity of Smethwick, in which neighbours and communities just get on with each other. Mr. Speaker, residents in my Smethwick constituency and across Sandwell benefit from the lowest council tax in the West Midlands, investment in new leisure centres, parks and all our libraries kept open. Sandwell's the 3rd best in the country for fixing potholes, expanded breakfast clubs, free school meals and cheaper school uniforms for our children. Does the Prime Minister agree that this is all down to well-run Labour Sandwell Council and the changes brought back by this government, this Labour government, opposed at every opportunity by the Tories and Reform?
Can I thank him for his work to give every child the best start in life in his constituency? And I'm very glad that this government has done more than any other government to lift children out of poverty. Mr. Speaker, thanks to our work this session on this side of the House, we've passed laws needed to deliver more rights at work, build new homes, save British steel, clean up waterways, secure our borders and record funding of our NHS and so much more. Change delivered by Labour, opposed by the Tories and Reform.
We come to the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Thank you. It's the end of this session, and what a contrast with the beginning, Mr. Speaker. Back in July 2024, those benches were full of sycophantic questions from adoring new MPs. Yesterday, the Prime Minister was reduced to begging those same MPs to save his own skin. Mr. Speaker, he's broken his promise to grow the economy. The only thing that's grown is the welfare bill. The only thing that's grown is the welfare bill. So can the Prime Minister tell us, how many more people are out of work and claiming universal credit since he took office?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, she talks about what we've done in terms to raising people out of work. We have the youth guarantee that we've put in place for young people. We've raised the national minimum wage thanks to our Chancellor. We've helped young people into work by cutting NHS waiting lists thanks to the work of the Health Secretary. We put more police on the streets thanks to the work of the Home Secretary, and we've cut energy bills for young people thanks to the work of the Energy. I am very proud of what this Labour government has delivered in the first session of this Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister doesn't want to say how many more people, in fact, are out of work and claiming universal credit since he took office. Perhaps he doesn't know. So let me tell him. The number is 1.5 million people. That is the entire population of Leeds, Cardiff and Edinburgh put together. Hard-working people are being taxed more and more to pay for a ballooning benefits bill. So can the Prime Minister tell us why, on his watch, for the first time ever, we are now spending more on welfare than we earn in income tax?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the welfare system she complains of is the one they put in place, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, we are reforming it to improve it. And what did they do when we put that forward? They voted to keep the same broken welfare system.
Mr. Speaker, that answer was as honest as his reason for sacking Ollie Robbins. Perhaps he'd like to apologise for that right now. Let me tell him why we're spending more on welfare than we're earning in tax. It's because of him and his terrible policies. This is all under him. We are spending so much on welfare, we cannot afford to defend the country. And if he won't listen to me, Mr. Speaker, perhaps he'll listen to the former Labour Defence Secretary, Lord Robertson, who is saying, and I quote, "We cannot defend Britain with an ever-expanding welfare budget." I agree with Lord Robertson. Why doesn't he?
Mr. Speaker, this is the Labour government that increased defence spending, the highest sustained spend since the Cold War. What did they do, Mr. Speaker? When they came into power, defence spending was 2.5%, and when they left power, it was 2.3%. And even their own Secretary of State admitted they hollowed out our armed forces, so we'll take no lectures from them on defence.
Mr. Speaker, talking about more defence spending is not the same as giving more money for defence. He has been in office for nearly 2 years, Mr. Speaker. What he does have, he's got a welfare plan until 2031, but he's not produced a defence investment plan. We have gone backwards on defence under him because we are borrowing to pay for welfare. Yesterday, we learned that the cost of government borrowing is now the highest in 2 decades. That's under him. Instead of getting a grip on the economy, the Chancellor is briefing out rent controls to curry favour with left-wing backbenchers. This is not a serious way to run the economy. It is time the Prime Minister gives her an easier job. So will he listen to businesses, listen to the country and reshuffle the Chancellor?
Mr. Speaker, at the spring statement, the Chancellor was very proud to say inflation was down to 3% and falling, 6 interest rates in a cut. We've seen the growth figures for the early part of this year. And she says, well, the cost of borrowing's gone up. Yes, because there's a conflict in Iran. And what did she want to do? What did she want to do When I said we wouldn't be dragged into that war because I thought through the consequences, including the economic consequences, what did she do? She said we should jump in with both feet without regard to the consequences. She can't complain now about the implications.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear him say he's not reshuffling the Chancellor. It sounds like she's toast. Meanwhile, the former Deputy Prime Minister is on manoeuvres. This government is like a bad episode of Game of Thrones. His own people have turned against him, and all the while, the Prime Minister is holed up in his castle, wetting himself about a visit from the King in the North. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, one Labour MP actually said that his days are numbered. That's one of them. I wonder who it was, because they're all looking guilty as hell. Isn't the real reason, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, isn't the real reason the Prime Minister can't cut welfare that he squandered all his political capital saving his own skin?
Mr. Speaker, she talks about political games. That's what she was doing yesterday. This House considered our motion and rejected it decisively because everyone saw it for what it was, a desperate, baseless political stunt ahead of the May elections. And, Mr. Speaker, whilst she and they were playing games here, I was chairing a meeting in Cobra, going through the contingencies and managing our war in the Middle East. Mr. Speaker, they think political games here is more important than managing the implications of the war in the Middle East, which will affect every single one of their constituents. And none of them ask any questions about it. None of them want to debate it. They just want to debate silly political stunts. Because, Mr. Speaker, even though we didn't join the war, no thanks to her, my duty is to protect the British public from the consequences, and nothing is going to distract me from what matters to the British public.
Mr. Speaker, I think the whole country is sick of this man's tone-deaf, pompous moralising. Last week, we all saw him punch the Speaker's chair. This is not a man who is in control. Since the last King's speech, it's been one disaster after another. Cronyism, jobs for friends of convicted paedophiles, peerages for other friends of convicted paedophiles, broken promises on taxes, U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. He's lost a Deputy Prime Minister, 2 Chiefs of Staff, 2 Cabinet Secretaries, the support of his backbenchers and all his credibility. They can jeer, Mr. Speaker, they can jeer as much as they like. They're going to have to go to their constituencies and explain to all those people why they did what they did last night. The fact is the Prime Minister was reduced to whipping his MPs to save him and pleading with a tax dodger to rejoin his cabinet. How much longer do we all have to put up with his shambles?
Mr. Speaker, I changed my party and I won a general election. She's changed her party, Mr. Speaker, because when I became leader of my party, their party was 3 times the size it is now. She's changed it. It's now even smaller than when she started at leader, because half of them are up there. And, Mr. Speaker, the stunt they played yesterday because they don't like what we're delivering. More rights at work, more security for renters, lifting 500,000 children out of poverty. That's our mandate, that's our mission, and nothing's going to hold us back.
It was 18 months ago, I remember, that my late friend Terry Etherton was sitting up there, beaming down at the Prime Minister because he had just announced the government scheme to give compensation to those who had been wrongly sacked from the armed forces for simply being gay. But I have a constituent, Mr. Speaker, who lost his job in MI6 in the 1980s for his sexuality, and he's got no compensation. The security services also put their lives on the line for their country. It's just not fair. Would the Prime Minister find the time to sit down with my constituent and me so that we can work out together a way in which we can extend Terry's scheme so that the security services can also get justice?
Prime Minister. Can I thank her for her dedicated work on this? I am very proud of the work we've done to recognise LGBT veterans. Mr. Speaker, on top of that, people in our security service are some of the bravest and most talented professionals who served our country. That some of them lost their jobs because of their sexuality is a historic wrong. And I can confirm today the Security Minister is assessing this closely, and I'll make sure that she's updated and has the meeting she's asked for.
Said David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, we heard Christian Turner, Peter Mandelson's replacement as US Ambassador, say that the only country Trump has a special relationship with is Israel, that the Prime Minister's job is in danger after next week's elections, and that in the US, Jeffrey Epstein's associates have evaded responsibility for their actions. The Prime Minister has had to fire one US ambassador for lying. Does he fear he'll now have to fire a second one for telling the truth?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, given what I've had thrown at me in the last 2 weeks by all the opposition parties, that's the least of my problems. But, Mr. Speaker, I know he likes stunts, but I was surprised he joined in the one yesterday, because his own business spokesman said last week, satisfied I had not misled the House. He, of course, his opening position was it was inconceivable that officials would give clearance to Mandelson and not tell ministers it was against the UK SV recommendation. That's what he said, and it didn't happen. I expect frivolous accusations from the Leader of the Opposition. Clearly, I was wrong to expect anything better from the man in the wetsuit.
Mr. Speaker, I've got my dry suit on today, and let me tell the Prime Minister that when Boris Johnson was faced with that motion, he didn't whip his MPs. There was a difference there. And Mr. Speaker, experts are warning that food prices will rise by 10% this year as farmers' costs soar. Trump's war has exposed how weak Britain's food security is. Yet under the system brought in by the Conservatives, England is the only country in Europe where farm payments don't actively support farmers to produce food. So will the King's Speech include a good food bill to fix that mistake and make sure people can afford the food they need?
Mr. Speaker, of course food security is important, and that's why I was considering that amongst other issues in the ministerial meetings yesterday in Cobra. That's what I was spending my afternoon doing, making sure that we were prepared and managing the risks of a conflict that will affect every single one of our constituents. What was he doing? He was wasting his time in here on a baseless allegation and engaging in party political. He should have been working on the single most important issue of the day, but he wasted his time on a baseless political stunt.
Chris Hinchcliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The war in Iran has exposed how dangerously reliant we are on imports for our food, fuel and medicine. But the reality is that climate breakdown will make the current instability look trivial. Will the Prime Minister use the upcoming King's Speech to address this fact and redirect our economy towards food security, energy security and security in supply of our medicines?
Well, Prime Minister, he's absolutely right to highlight the real risk of climate change, both internationally and at home. And I'm proud, Mr. Speaker, we've restored the UK's position as a global leader on climate action. And that means cutting emissions with our carbon budget, investing £7 billion in nature recovery, and driving ahead with renewables. They're the right steps to protect supply chains, protect our economy, and to protect working people.
Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, depending upon results in the elections next week, this may well be my final PMQs. I suppose. I suppose, Mr. Speaker, the same is perhaps true for the Prime Minister as well. But before then, does he understand that, yes, it's because of inaction on the cost of living crisis, yes, it's because of the debacle of the winter fuel payment, yes, it's because of the 1,000 jobs being lost a month in Scotland's North Sea and the closure of Grangemouth, yes, it's because of his judgment on Matthew Doyle and Peter Mandelson, but above all else, the reason why his time in office will soon be coming to a close is because he promised change but has delivered chaos.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of what this Labour government has achieved, and I'm proud of what we will achieve. If it is his last session here, let's reflect on his great achievements in Westminster. He kicked out his predecessor and then lost 39 MPs at the next election. I hope he can keep up that record in Holyrood next week.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Labour government's £29 billion of investment in the NHS and £2 billion in life sciences is critical to fixing our NHS and tackling health inequalities. The Barts Life Sciences cluster in Whitechapel will become one of Europe's leading NHS-centred clusters, and we've already secured £800 million in private investment. Will the Prime Minister direct the Office for Investment to co-sponsor this initiative and ensure the National Wealth Fund co-invests so we can turn East London's health inequalities into a driver for UK life sciences growth, transforming the future of healthcare in London, the UK and globally?
Prime Minister.
I'm proud that Labour is investing in life sciences, and I thank my honourable friend for championing this project for over a decade. The National Wealth Fund is designed to co-invest alongside private investors. Ministers are happy to discuss those proposals with her. Mr. Speaker, today I can announce a significant new investment by AstraZeneca, investing £300 million in UK life sciences, made possible by the pharmaceutical arrangement we have struck with the United States to future-proof thousands of jobs in Macclesfield and in Cambridge. That is a major vote of confidence in the UK and Labour's plans to strengthen our economy.
Sir John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In another answer, the Prime Minister made clear that he understands that global uncertainty makes national economic resilience ever more important, and that energy security and food security are central to that. So why is policy making one the enemy of the other, as the 12% of our most fertile, productive land, the food we need to feed the nation, is being eaten up by giant industrial developments, pylons with accompanying infrastructure and huge solar developments? Will the Prime Minister meet me and colleagues that feel similarly? Because by corroding Britain's food security now, we risk compromising our nation's future.
Well, it's right to raise food security, and obviously that is one of the resiliences that we need in this country and we need to protect in this country. But we also do need to move to secure independence of energy. Because one thing that is making life so much harder for all of those in the food sector is that their energy prices go up every time an international conflict affects the prices here. By getting energy independence, which requires the infrastructure, we can protect them from that and therefore make them more resilient.
Anna Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like many MPs, I'll be heading up to my constituency later to campaign in the local elections. When I'm out on the doors talking to voters in the Shipley constituency, I'm proud of the difference this Labour government is making. Renters no longer worried thanks to secure tenure. Families supported by free breakfast clubs and extended free childcare support, and workers no longer on exploitative zero-hours contracts. What is the Prime Minister most proud of, and what is his message for voters in my Shipley constituency and across the UK?
Well, I thank her for her question, and this is the first government for generations to take key services back into public ownership, Mr. Speaker. The first government to give rights and powers to workers, rents and the less fortunate, and the first government in a generation to invest in public services and lift children out of poverty. And as we face a war on two fronts, we will do more: a stronger economy, stronger energy security and stronger on defence. That's the difference this government is making.
Sir Jeremy Wright.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Many of us across this House worked hard to pass the Online Safety Act, not because we thought it would be the last word on online safety, but because we believed it was an important step forward in making online platforms more accountable for the content on their services and for the algorithms that curate it. So can the Prime Minister reassure us that whatever his government decides to do to restrict access for our young people to social media, it will not be used as cover by social media companies to do less themselves to keep young people safer online?
Can I give him that assurance? Because those platform providers do need to take responsibility, and he will have noticed the fight we had with Grok just a few months ago, where disgusting images were being created on social media, and we took them on in a fight that we won across the House. Also with chatbots, but we need to build on the legislation we've got. We definitely need more protection in general, and particularly for children. But his point is valid, that shouldn't be to take any responsibility away from those that are providing the platforms in the first place.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. £158 million in fair funding, £20 million in Pride in Place for New Addington, and funding for new trams. Mr. Speaker, it is this Labour government that is finally giving Croydon the backing that it needs. The building of Croydon for all starts with ensuring our residents have the dignity and stability of a decent home. So with hundreds of families in my constituency facing homelessness through no-fault evictions, will the Prime Minister outline how this government is progressing on its plans to fix the private renter sector and ensure that renters in Croydon have the security and peace of mind that they deserve?
Well, my honourable friend is a brilliant representative for Croydon, and she's right. For too long, renters have been at the mercy of rogue landlords, pushing thousands into homelessness. I'm delighted to confirm that this Friday, no-fault evictions will be scrapped once and for all. That sends an important message to anyone living in a damp, unsafe home, anyone who's suffered an unfair rent increase, and to every family forced to move over the last year to year. Change is here, delivered by Labour, opposed by the Tories, and reform every step of the way.
Dr. Luke Evans.
Please could the Prime Minister explain to the House, if he's done nothing wrong and process has been followed, why did he need to force his MPs to vote against an investigation? Is it because he's worried they don't believe his version of the truth?
Yes.
No, it's because they can see a baseless allegation, a political stunt, when they see it. Mr. Speaker, as a former GP, here's the truth. We've recruited 82 more GPs, upgraded his medical centre. They want all the benefits, but they never want to pay for them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Derby is a manufacturing powerhouse, but too many people in our city have not felt the benefit of that success. That's why tomorrow we're absolutely delighted to be launching Team Derby with our East Midlands Mayor, Claire Ward. Does the Prime Minister agree that with our brilliant Chancellor and our Labour government backing our city, Team Derby can make sure every pound of investment in Derby delivers real change for our residents, so everyone feels part of our success story?
Prime Minister.
Well, I think we should all back Team Derby. Our investment is helping to renew our submarine fleet, building new nuclear reactors and creating jobs and growth. I'm proud to see Labour MPs working with the Labour Mayor and a Labour government to deliver a brighter future for Derby.
Ollie Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Despite the government's ambitious house-building targets, the charity Shelter believes the current approach is not providing enough social and genuinely affordable homes. So will the Prime Minister end his government's warm embrace of the developer-led model and instead heed Liberal Democrat calls for 150,000 social homes per year and new powers for local councils to build them?
Mr. Speaker, we are going to build 1.5 million homes. We're upgrading the rights of renters because we know how important it is for everyone to have a safe and secure roof over their head. His challenge to me would have more force if they hadn't abstained on the measures that we're taking in order to take these measures forward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whilst our NHS across England has seen noticeable improvements thanks to the work of this Labour government, Southend Hospital and the wider Mid and South Essex NHS Trust has continued to struggle. I thank the Department for Health and Social Care for working with me and my colleagues on this issue and for placing the trust on the Intensive Recovery Programme. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that this is the right action to take, and will he meet with me to discuss our wider plans to improve healthcare in Southend as part of our Opportunity Southend initiative?
Prime Minister.
After years of failure being tolerated, failing staff and patients, our new intensive recovery programme is targeting sites that need tailored support. Mr Speaker, there's more to do, but we're seeing real progress across our NHS. They've never heard this from a government. Waiting list lowest for 3 years. That didn't happen for 14 years. Any waiting times best for 5 years. They don't recognise any of this because they didn't do any of it. Fastest ambulance response in half a decade. And don't forget the parties opposite opposed the record investment that was necessary to make all of that happen.
Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Everything international law is supposed to protect is being violated. A genocide against the Palestinian people, the catastrophe in Sudan, the Gazification of Lebanon. Against this backdrop, the government last week closed the International Humanitarian Law Unit and stopped funding access to the CIR database of 26,000 human rights and conflict incidents across Israel, Palestine and Lebanon. This database underpins decisions on IHL breaches, arms export suspensions and whether the UK itself is acting within the law. Usually, criminals or their accomplices are the ones destroying evidence of their crimes. Instead, not a human rights lawyer or a government apparently committed to upholding international law. So my question is simple.
Prime Minister. Sir, you've taken far too long, Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, let me reassure the House that the work of the International Law Unit has not ended. It will simply be done by a different team under a restructure. We will, of course, continue to monitor international humanitarian law in Gaza and elsewhere and invest in conflict prevention and resolution.
The picture.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This Labour government has backed the reopening of Doncaster Sheffield Airport from the very start. It means jobs, investment, growth and opportunities, not just for Doncaster East and the Isle of Axholme, but for the whole region. Now, the Reform councillors in Doncaster are considering reversing their decision to support the investment, which would currently facilitate that airport from reopening. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that the airport remains a huge priority for the area, and will he continue to work with us to find a way forward to make sure that we get our airport back open?
Well, my honourable friend is a champion for this crucial local project, and I thank him for his work. And I know from visiting Doncaster just how vital reopening the airport is for local residents. It will be a huge boost for South Yorkshire and unlock thousands of jobs. I'm deeply concerned by reports that decisions by Reform in Doncaster could put the reopening in jeopardy. Labour put the plan in place. Reform should honour their promises, stop playing games and get the airport open.
Robin Swan.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. In a parliamentary session which started out with a degree of anticipation, a level of expectation and a promise of change, and what could be the last Prime Minister's question time, can I ask him, why does he think it went so wrong? Was it his failure to support our WASPy women, his failure to support our farmers, or his failure to support our Northern Ireland veterans and victims of the Northern Ireland Troubles? Or was it those around him who seem more interested in themselves than the country?
Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I'm very proud, this government's very proud of the biggest upgrade in workers' rights in a generation, the biggest upgrade in renters' rights in a generation, and the most any government has ever done to reduce child poverty. They will have a lasting impact on working people across the United Kingdom. That's the change we're bringing about, and I look forward to continuing it.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As this parliamentary session draws to a close, it seems a good moment to reflect on the legislation passed since the general election. Not all of it, of course. But many of us have walked through the lobbies to pass 60 bills that have touched almost every aspect of British life, from the care of cats, dogs and ferrets to the space industry indemnities, along with a whole host of measures seeking to improve life for renters, carers, investors, football fans, NHS patients, serving personnel and more. Would the Prime Minister agree with me that this is a pretty good first session report card? And would he agree that the best is yet to come?
Mr. Speaker, she's right to highlight the 50 pieces of legislation, the 50 bills that we've put through. We whipped to change the country. We all voted to change the country. They, of course, opposed almost all of it. That's why we've got stronger rights for renters. That's why we've got stronger rights for workers, investing in our roads and railways, reforming SEND and driving down waiting lists, all opposed by the parties opposite. And we're only just getting started, Mr. Speaker. We're going to go further on a stronger economy, on energy security and a stronger defence.
Final question, Sarah Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before we leave this House for several weeks, I feel absolutely necessary to raise an issue within my constituency, which I have been trying to get an answer from DEFRA and from the EA, where we have a landfill site in Caen that is producing sulphurous smells that is causing residents to need to close their windows, causing children to have sore throats. And yet I am not getting any answer except that the Environment Agency itself admits that controls may not be working effectively. Like my constituents, I find it really disappointing that we are not getting any serious response. This is not the kind of thing you expect in the UK. You do not expect the air you breathe not to be safe. And I would like to urge the Prime Minister to help me in getting a response from DEFRA and from the EA on what measures can be put in place to reassure my constituents that they are not suffering ill health. Thank you.
Well, can I thank her for raising the issue? Now she has raised it with me, I will make sure that I go away and chase up that she gets the reply and importantly, that they are entitled to.
That completes Prime Square. Catherine West, point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The whole House will be very concerned to hear about the dreadful stabbings this morning in the borough of Barnet, and as the member for Hornsey and Fry and Barnet, I'm very worried about this repeated violence against the Jewish community. And Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to reach out to the whole House to say we condemn these alleged attacks, and we wish the police, the council and all the community services the very best in solving this and bringing to justice those perpetrators of these violent crimes.
Prime Minister, would you want to respond?
Yeah, can I first thank her for raising this issue, which I had learnt about before Prime Minister's questions. It is deeply concerning to everyone in this House. There is now a police investigation, and I think we all need to do everything we can to support that investigation and be absolutely clear in our determination to deal with any of these offences, the like of which we've seen too much recently.
Okay. Point of order, John MacDonald.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, as Secretary of the NEJ Parliamentary Group, I raised earlier this week a point of order concerning the US agency APCO's role in undertaking an investigation of journalists for Labour Together, which resulted in the smearing of those journalists. I explained that as a result of concern about the reach of APCO's investigation, a number of honourable members had submitted subject interest requests to the company and to Labour Together. There's been a delay in the response from Labour Together to these requests, but APCO has confirmed in a very redacted form that information on MPs was being collected. And I referred this week to information from a whistleblower, a freelancer involved in the Labour Together inquiry, indicating that APCO had instructed this person to destroy files and material related to the inquiry. Only hours ago on the Financial Times online, we have confirmed that tapes do exist that include conversations by APCO's head of media relations for Europe, Tom Harper, discussing the deletion of an email account and saying, and I quote, whether they will be able to see that through digital forensics or something like that, references with regard to this inquiry. He also refers to processes to muddy the waters in the audit trail. There is also now I can report, if I can, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry for the delay. I can also report that evidence was submitted to the inquiry by Sir Laurie Magnus, the Prime Minister's ethics advisor, by Paul Holden, one of the journalists who are victims of the smears, but the evidence was not supplied by the Cabinet Office to the Secretariat to the inquiry to Laurie Magnus. On behalf of the NUJ Parliamentary Group, I want to express our concern, but also it is important from the NUJ Parliamentary Group, we are concerned about the smearing of journalists, but we also need to know what, if any, surveillance of honorary members was taking place and for what purposes. And we call again for an independent inquiry into APCO's role and Labour Together's role in this issue.
Can I say it is a very, very serious allegation that I do take seriously. Members of Parliament are here to carry out their duties. And what is being alleged is very serious. I do believe it needs to be investigated thoroughly. From my point of view, I would expect, as the honourable gentleman's been here a long time, no doubt he will use the table office as part of the avenues to pursue what he's said. There may be other ways, and there may be serious security implications to this House as well, that I will also take up in other avenues. Thank you for that. Point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a point of order, the Right Honourable Member for Newark visited my constituency yesterday without notifying me. This is not the first time the usual courtesies of this House have been disregarded by Reform UK when visiting Portsmouth. Further to that, is it in order, Mr. Speaker, for a former immigration minister who helped shape the current asylum system to visit constituencies and push campaigns that mislead and cause hatred and division? Mr. Speaker, given this blatant disregard for this convention and courtesy to the House, and absolute lack of integrity and respect, can you advise what recourse is available to me as the constituency member?
Yeah. I think there's another one, the same point of order, James McCleary, and they'll come to.
Newark was very busy yesterday as alarmed residents in the town of Seaford in my constituency reported sighting two. Mr. Speaker, he was apparently there campaigning to support the Reform candidate for Seaford North, who is set to lose his seat to the Liberal Democrats. I understand there's a common courtesy in this place for members to inform one another of official visits to their constituencies. On this occasion, that did not happen. Mr. Speaker, could you advise me on this issue?
Can I say to both of you, I thank all members for the points of orders they've raised. Have I reminded the House on numerous occasions members must notify their colleagues if they intend to visit another member's constituency, except for purely private purposes. I expect members on all sides of the House to show that courtesy to their colleagues, whether the front bench or not. It is courtesy. I expect it to be done that way. Those members who have failed to do so, I do hope they will apologise to the members concerned. It's election fever time. We don't need any more of it. So please, carry out the courtesy of this House. Dame Chiamwara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, the Leader of the Opposition, who's not in her place, said that 1.5 million extra people were on universal credit. Now, she will know that this is a deeply misleading number because it is largely a consequence of the transition from legacy systems to universal credit. And her background is in IT. She should know how it works. In fact, more people are in work now than under the Tories. So given...
I'm not quite sure it's a point of order for me because... No, let me finish. It'll be easier for both of us. It's a political judgment that you were correcting the record on to try and say, if somebody inadvertently has misled the House, it is for them to correct the record, not for me. And I certainly don't want to reopen the questions that we've just closed. So thank you for making it and bringing it to the attention of the House, and know it will be in Hansard. A point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How do I gain your advice from a point of order that actually is inadvertently misleading what the Leader of the Opposition said? Where the Leader of the...
And that's the danger of what I started. Can I just say, that's the problem. We've had some very serious points of order. Let's leave it with the serious points of order before... We haven't got the time to play around. Right. Richard Holden.
of order, Mr. Speaker. I seek your guidance on two matters relating to completeness of ministerial answers to this House. In a recent answer to my honourable friend, the member for Leicester East, on the 24th of April, the Minister for Transport, the member for Wakefield and Rothwell, referred to an attached spreadsheet to a written parliamentary question which wasn't provided. This is the third time this has happened in recent months. In addition, I wrote to the same Minister on March the 2nd seeking clarification of an earlier written answer in light of remarks he made in Westminster Hall on the 27th of January and have still yet to receive a reply. Could you advise me, Mr. Speaker, how members can secure timely and complete information when matters referred for answers are still...
I think we both grasp it. And you know the answer better than I do as do, Mr. Holder. As a former Secretary of State and Minister, you know very well how these things happen. Look, let me just say I thank the right honourable member for his point of order. He will know that I'm not responsible for ministerial answers. However, all members should receive full and timely answers. The Treasury bench will have heard his concerns and I hope they'll be passed on to the relevant minister. I would also say we've got the Leader of the House who shares my concerns on the time that it is taking to answer letters. It isn't good enough, it's not acceptable. We have a period of calm and hopefully when we come back we can get all the outstanding questions answered. Right. Now then, let us move on to the 10-minute rule motion. We now come to 10-minute rule motion. Alan Mack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to make provision about the delivery of in-person banking services, to require the Financial Conduct Authority to set standards for the provision of in-person banking services and for connected purposes. Mr. Speaker, in places like Hayling Island and Emsworth in my Havant constituency, if individuals cannot bank online or travel to the next town, they cannot bank at all. Across the country, this is not an isolated problem. This is actually the reality for millions of people. There are now nearly 50 constituencies represented on both sides of the House without a single bank branch left, and over 90 more are down to their final branch. Since 2015, more than 6,600 bank branches have closed, around two-thirds of the network we once had. In-person, face-to-face banking services have in many places simply disappeared. And while online banking works for many, it does not work for everyone, with the latest FCA figures confirming over 3 million people in the UK don't use online banking. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to older people in particular, Age UK report that nearly 4 in 10 over 65s who have a bank account don't manage their money online, and 3/4 still want to carry out at least some banking in person, which the Consumer Rights Organisation also makes an important point. When branches close, people don't just lose a building, they lose access to help when things go wrong. For older people, people with disabilities, small businesses handling cash, and for people in rural, suburban and coastal communities, this is not about convenience. It's about independence, it's about practicality, and it's about dignity and fairness. Mr. Speaker, whilst I've so far outlined some of the challenges, I should also state that significant progress has also been made on this issue. It was the last Conservative government that took action. Through the Financial Services and Markets Act 2023, we protected access to cash and supported the rollout of banking hubs across the country. Today, these banking hubs are a Conservative success story, with UK Finance, the trade body, reporting that nearly 9 in 10 customers would recommend using a hub. I want to recognise also the vital role that banks themselves have played in this transition. Many have worked together to support and fund the rollout of banking hubs, and they continue to provide services in communities where branches have closed, for example through mobile banks and pop-ups. I also want to pay tribute to the Post Office network and their staff, who play a vital role in providing access to cash and basic banking services in communities across the country, represented by members across this House. So, Mr. Speaker, the introduction of banking hubs was the right approach. It was necessary and it's already making the right difference. But now we face the next challenge. Post offices and cash machines are an important part of the system and provide access to cash, but they were never designed to replace the full range of services provided by a bank branch. So now we must go further and protect access to face-to-face banking, because banking is not just about paying in or withdrawing money. It's also about fixing a blocked card. resolving a failed payment, sorting out fraud, and getting advice and help when it matters the most. And on fraud specifically, Mr. Speaker, there are now 3 million cases a year, and most begin online. When something goes wrong, having someone to help in a face-to-face context can be the difference between stopping the fraud early and losing life savings. And for those who are offline, this is not just a theoretical issue. A pensioner with a frozen account shouldn't have to travel miles just to speak to a human being. A small business shouldn't be left waiting on hold when they need to pay their customers or suppliers or staff. A first-time buyer shouldn't have to navigate the complex mortgage market from just an app. These are just some of the gaps in the current system, and this bill addresses those gaps and more. It develops a model that is not only fair but sustainable, one that works for consumers, banks and for the long-term future of our high streets and communities. It shifts the focus away from access to cash to access to wider in-person banking services, and it ensures that banking hubs provide what people actually need, help to manage their money face-to-face when it matters most. Mr. Speaker, I've also seen this issue play out firsthand in my own Hammett constituency. Since 2015, we have lost over 90% of our bank branches. Barclays, HSBC, NatWest, Halifax and Lloyds have all closed, leaving just one building society branch nationwide in Havant Town Centre. So I worked with residents, with ministers and with Link over several years to secure a new banking hub for our community, which is due to open in the coming weeks. That is progress. It shows the model can work, but it also highlights its limitations, because under the current law, hubs are only delivered when access to cash is judged to be inadequate. So if there's an ATM on the high street or a post office is providing deposit and withdrawal services, a banking hub may not be deemed necessary, despite the lack of wider banking services in the area. This means in practice many people, including in places like Emsworth and Hayling Island, cannot get basic banking services or basic banking problems resolved. They're still travelling miles, still struggling to speak to someone, still left without the support they need. Mr. Speaker, this is not a failure of the idea, it's a gap in its design which this bill resolves. And it's also worth being clear, Mr. Speaker, this bill is not about mandating a return to the old model of bank branches on every high street. Instead, it's about ensuring that the modern banking system we have created works for everyone. In developing this bill, I've engaged with a wide range of stakeholders, including the Post Office, UK Finance, Which and Age UK, all of whom recognise the need to go further in ensuring access to in-person banking services outside traditional branches. In return, I have aimed to be equally pragmatic when drawing up this bill and leading the campaign for more banking hubs. For example, I recognise that many people are able to rely solely on mobile or online banking and rarely have to step into a bank branch or a banking hub. I'm also not wedded to a banking hub being a bricks and mortar building with fixed high costs. A hub could be a modular building, a pop-up, a mobile unit, all located inside existing buildings such as a supermarket, post office or community centre. What's important is the ability to speak face-to-face. Mr. Speaker, this bill is not about turning back the clock. It's not about resisting innovation or looking to the past. Instead, this bill and my wider campaign is the practical evolution of a system that is already working. It's a timely refinement to reflect how people actually use banking services today. In fact, this bill is about making sure that progress works for everyone, because we cannot allow a two-tier system to emerge. One for those who can navigate apps and algorithms, and another for those who can't. I welcome the constructive engagement I've had with the Treasury and the City Minister on this issue. There is clear recognition on all sides of the House that more must be done to expand banking hubs, and this bill offers a practical, proportionate and sustainable way forward. So let us build on what works and fix what doesn't, and let us ensure that banking hubs deliver not just access to cash, but access to banking, because no one should be locked out of managing their own money simply because they cannot do it online. Mr. Speaker, I urge colleagues across the House to support this bill, and I commend it to the House.
The honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. The question is, did the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill? As many of their opinions say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare to bring in the bill?
Sir Jeremy Hunt, John Glenn, Joy Morrissey, Andrew Griffith, Claire Coutinho, Laura Trott, Jack Rankin, Nick Timothy, John Cooper, Neil O'Brien, Lewis Cocking and myself, Mr. Speaker.
Alan Mack.
In-person banking services bill.
Second reading what day?
Friday the 8th of May.
Friday the 8th of May. Thank you. We now come to motion number 2 on business of the House. Minister to move.
I beg to move.
The question is that business of the House motion as on the order paper. As many other opinions say aye.
Aye.
On the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order. The sitting is suspended. Shortly before the sitting resumes, I shall cause the division bells to be sounded. Thank you.
Right, thank you all for watching. I know there's a few of you still around, but we're going to carry on with this. Much appreciated if you hit the like button, please. And those who are leaving, we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. We carry on with this. Those who are staying, thank you all. I'm not sure what they're doing, whether they're going to carry on, whether they're having a break for 5 minutes. I'm not sure, but we're going to carry on, so stick around, please.
Dennis Skinner always used to sit here. Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. We are still here. We're just waiting for him to come back. I don't know what time they're coming back, etc. But we'll keep going for a little while, all right? If anything changes, I'll let you know. Thank you. Right, okay, I'm going to pull the plug now. Right, thank you all for watching. I know, sorry to have you sitting there doing nothing. I'm not sure what time they're coming back or what the schedule is. There is supposed to be something going on, but I don't know what they're playing at. Oh, there we go. Are we coming back now? Hold on, hold on. I'll give it another few minutes, okay, and see what happens. Okay, right, okay. Sorry about this, guys. No, okay, let me end this here. And doesn't look like they're going to continue with anything. Thank you very much for watching. Much appreciated. Thanks for the support. Please hit the like button if you can and make sure you're subscribed. Okay, just type in YouTube London City Events. London City Events. Make sure you're subscribed and got your bell notifications on. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll catch you next week.